If you don't love your kids more than yourself, something is wrong with you.
Powerful, brain-altering drugs.
We don't understand a woman capable of doing that. She must be a monster.
She was suffering from mental illness.
No, the prosecution says she's just a calculated, controlling mother who got fed up and killed her kids. Hey there, everybody. Question for you. How is it possible to not just have sympathy for, but show public support for a woman accused, not just accused, but a woman we know strangled her 3 young children? With that, welcome everybody. That's Robes. I'm TJ. We are now out of network. So Robes, being out of network allows us to have a different conversation here about Lindsay Clancy and about Hayden Panettiere. And Robes, I'm not sure if I like the way the conversation so far is going in public.
Well, yes, because there is a lot of shame, a lot of blame to go around, and it feels like we're blaming the women who are experiencing what medical professionals will call a psychological disorder brought on by giving birth.
Okay, so if that's the case, if medical professionals can tell us that, why is it the public? And why is it, you talk about this all the time, women judging other women. Why is it that women aren't being given a break when they say they're suffering? And for some reason, Robes, it sounds antithetical to what a woman is supposed to be. First and foremost, the instinct to be a mother.
Yes. And the instinct to immediately bond with and love your child more than you love yourself.
Yes.
And if you don't immediately feel those feelings, then something's wrong with you. But we're not giving you grace or giving you a diagnosis or saying we can help you. We're shaming you. We're making you into a bad person, a bad mother, a cruel and unusual person. And then you start to feel shame and guilt. You don't want to tell anyone. You don't seek help. You don't want to be judged. And this is the path, unfortunately, that some women have found themselves on. And we have seen now publicly what it can lead to. Death.
Aren't we talking about here, Rob? You said it. If you don't love your kids more than yourself immediately and bond with your child, something is wrong with you. Yes, that's the point.
Exactly. But it's not your fault.
But Rose, when you say something, okay, we all look and something's wrong with this woman. The public, and mothers in particular, are judging her for what's wrong with her differently than the medical field is judging her for what's wrong with her. Why is it postpartum depression is not, okay, sorry, you forgive me, Robes, if I am not as up on the conversations that are had around this publicly, but it doesn't seem to often be put into the category of mental illness. It doesn't often seem to be put in the category of something that women need help getting over. They just need a little time. They'll get past it. They're just having a bad day.
Yes, and I do think that there isn't sympathy for those women from people who haven't experienced it. So it's one of those situations you can't see it. It isn't diagnosable in the sense there isn't a medical test where you can say, oh, your blood work shows this. It's based on self-reporting. It's based on feelings. And therefore, if you're a mom or you're a woman and you haven't experienced that, and if you're a man, you could never know what it's like. And so it's very easy to say, well, that didn't happen to me. What's wrong with you? But not in a sympathetic way, not in a medical way, but in an absolute judgmental way.
It is. And here we are now. This Lindsay Clancy case has been driving me crazy, but then here we go. I say driving me crazy in that the conversations we're having about postpartum depression, in her case, psychosis, Robes. Like, I am surprised, and we've talked about with the prosecution in particular, is not giving any room or any grace for the possibility of a woman having a hard time after giving birth. Again, she's trying to prosecute her, but she is completely being dismissive of the possibility that something was wrong with this lady.
Medically wrong with her.
And she's just calling her a cold-blooded killer. But Robes, we have years of documented evidence, doctor after doctor is coming up to treated her and prescribed this for her. Why is it then, Robes? Because I think what the prosecution is doing, a lot of people are doing. This woman killed her 3 kids. There is nothing else to talk about.
Yes, and I think the other problem alongside this is that it doesn't seem to me, at least what I've witnessed, what we've seen in this trial, that medical physicians are up on exactly what postpartum psychosis is, how often it happens, who it can happen to, why it happens, and maybe most importantly, how to treat it. Because part of the issue in this trial is that they just threw a bunch of drugs at this woman.
A bunch.
Like, here, try this, try this, try this, try this, try these. These are all powerful, brain-altering drugs that she was just kind of given permission to take at different times, and she was truly treated as a guinea pig. And I think, to me, it's a glaring example of just how little it's been studied, how little the community, the medical community, actually effectively supports women who are treated or who are even acknowledged diagnosed by this disease. And we look at Lindsay Clancy, and we also look at what happened to Hayden Panettiere. Now, it's not all solely based on postpartum, but this was a huge part of her documented issues that were happening in front of the public, and how she was treated is now being examined, and how Lindsay Clancy has been treated is being exposed in a court of law, but she's still fighting for her life in a lot of ways. And it's remarkable to see the lack of sympathy and the rush to judgment.
Well, what are you supposed to do, Ro? Most people, if you're not paying attention, you see a headline that the woman strangled a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and an 8-month-old. Burn her. Is that, I'm trying to give grace to those people. It's difficult to give grace when it doesn't seem like folks are even up on it. They're just jumping on the headline, or just because it does, Robes. That's impossible. We don't understand a woman capable of doing that. She must be a monster. The transition now I'm going to make to Hayden Panettiere and how this all now connects to her is because in the most recent day of testimony, as of this recording, in the Lindsay Clancy case, she had a bunch of supporters. Hundreds, right?
300 plus.
All wearing pink. 300, overwhelmingly, yes, women out there supporting her. People saw that, Robes. How? In God's... They are saying, what is wrong with society? That you all are putting your arms around a woman who killed 3 babies. That is so much of what the debate is happening and is about, Robes, and not necessarily about postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis.
And that's what these women were trying to bring the attention back to, and that they had T-shirts that read, "Believe. Peace for Lindsay Clancy." And their whole point of being there in this silent rally outside of that courtroom was to remind folks to bring attention to the fact that women and mental health oftentimes are not treated the way they should be. They aren't supported the way they should be. And many of the women who reporters talked to who came out to show support for Lindsay Clancy spoke of their own postpartum depression experiences and their own scary moments, and not being believed, not being treated effectively, being judged, being shamed. And that is a part of this trial. We have sat and watched nearly every bit of testimony, and more so than the majority of folks who are even following this, other than being in the courtroom as it's happening. But I am shocked, frankly, at what we've heard. When you hear every single person and prosecution witnesses get up on that stand and talk about how Lindsay Clancy was a loving, caring, nurturing mother, and before that, a loving, caring, nurturing nurse who took care of women, pregnant women, newborns, who loved babies, who wanted nothing more than to be a mom. How can you then say a woman who is verifiably described in that way, how that same woman could do what she even admits she did to her children? To me, the only possible explanation, other than Satan was reincarnated in this woman to fool us all and then take 3 young lives, is that she was suffering from mental illness.
No, the prosecution says she's just a calculated, controlling mother who got fed up and killed her kids. And she sent her husband out on an errand so she could have time to do so. That's what they want us to believe. And that's what they want that jury to believe. And you assume they have to believe that in their heart of hearts, Robes, the prosecution, in doing so. So if they do,
2 women,
then maybe it's not a surprise that so many in the public. You don't have to, it's hard to have sympathy for a woman who killed 3 kids, Robes.
and yet hundreds of women showed up outside that courtroom to try and express that they have that very thing. And maybe it's because they have empathy versus sympathy. And I say that because they know, because they went through a similar, not exactly the same, obviously. None of these women were accused of murder and never went to that place, but they understand how possibly that could happen.
Okay. Now, Robes, in the midst of the Lindsay Clancy case that's been going on, as of this recording, has been going on weeks, in the midst of this, we lose Hayden Panettiere.
Wow.
All right, 36 years old. And a part of the conversation now around her, you just said something there at the end, Robes, about women and knowing how to, what was it, support women, believe women is what you said. Believe and support. Neutrogena has now come into this conversation, Robes. Hayden Panettiere, I didn't remember her going through it, but she talked openly about also going through postpartum depression. She lost a job she had had for 10 years, Robes, almost immediately afterwards. I didn't know this story.
This story is remarkable. I don't think I remembered the details, but it has now been back in the headlines because of Neutrogena. There has been a boycott call from a lot of folks who love and support Hayden and who have reminded all of us that she wrote about this in her memoir earlier this year, saying a 10-year contract was ended basically the day after or hours after she went on Kelly and Michael and told the world that she was suffering from postpartum depression. She talked about how moms always feel this instant rush of love, and she didn't. And that because she felt this depression and disconnection from her child, she then went back to abusing alcohol in a very significant and detrimental way. And she opened up about this, sharing this story on live national television.
Which doesn't sound like a bad thing. People share all kinds of stories of what they're going through. Of course, it always helps other people who are listening, knowing they're not alone. Maybe they'll go get a checkup or something because this celebrity did it. That, Robes, didn't seem to me like something she did in that moment that would have been deemed negative.
Well, I actually have her exact quote of what she said on there. And when you talk about Lindsay Clancy, babe, this is chilling. She said, quote, "When they tell you about postpartum depression, you think, okay, I feel negative feelings towards my child. I want to injure my child. I want to hurt my child. I've never had those feelings, and some women do, but you don't realize the what broad of a spectrum you can really experience that on. And I think that needs to be talked about, and women need to know that they're not alone." So I think even her referring to women, mothers hurting their children, she said that wasn't my experience, but it is a part of the experience of postpartum depression, and I think women should know this. And that probably just scared the bejesus out of Neutrogena, because no, don't talk about moms harming babies. And now you're saying you have this same disorder where that can actually happen? We don't want any part of that. But she just referenced it. She even said, I don't feel that way.
It doesn't matter if she said it or she didn't say it. I think they would have gotten rid of her anyway. But Rose, I don't. Neutrogena. Okay, I'm getting caught up on what happened at the time, and I am, at that point, Robes, I am saying, okay, if you're sitting in, and we've been in plenty of those types of rooms where somebody's trying to handle something, and how is the company going to look? I'm sure there was somebody in there that said, ooh, this doesn't go with our brand. It's not a good look. She's been with us a long time. She's kind of the face of us. We can't have the face of us being struggling with motherhood. We can't have... Okay, Robes, I would be open to the possibility of that conversation. And I would even be open, Robes, to going, I get they made a business decision, even if I don't like the business decision that they made. But then they came and they want to explain the decision because they're getting all kinds. Give me the degree of heat this company is getting right now.
Significant. Okay. Now that and this is what's so sad. It took Hayden Panettiere dying for people to start actually calling out what they felt like and what she had been saying Neutrogena did wrong by her and did wrong by women in general, women who give birth, women who suffer from this disorder. There was no big outcry at the time. There was no big outcry even after she wrote her book. It's only come now after they realized the impact that each one of these painful periods in her life contributed to her death. And now we're upset at Neutrogena. Now we're going to call them out. But it's loud, it's fierce, Enough so that this major brand for women
man.
is now feeling the need to cover their butts. I think it's interesting because if you look back just a few months ago, Hayden was on a podcast promoting her book. And she even said that Neutrogena, in not renewing her contract, cited a morality clause. And she said this: of all the things I had been caught doing, that being the thing where they drew the line was shocking to me. She said they already knew about her alcohol, her bad relationship with alcohol, her bad relationship with prescription drugs and drugs. But it was when she talked about postpartum depression, that's when they cited the morality clause.
Robes, again, they have the right to do whatever they want. And they did this thing where they didn't re-sign her, right?
Correct.
She was I've been with them 10 years, but now all of a sudden we don't want you no more. Okay, fine. They have that right to do. Robes, in explaining it now, hastily, right? Throwing together, it was just posted to social media, wasn't it?
Correct.
Their statement. This was hard to stomach, Robes, and this lets us know this is everything right now. Here I am. I don't know why this has become a cause to me. We ain't having no more babies. We got none of this to worry about. I cannot believe the conversation around postpartum.
Yeah, and
I cannot believe it.
Babe,
and I haven't been a part of it. I just haven't.
you haven't, but you're the father to daughters, and
My God.
and you're a decent guy, and you're a curious person who wants to understand.
A
And if-
decent guy. It sounds like you backed it off a little bit. Like you need to measure. Like you need to qualify just how good of a guy. You're decent.
No, I meant saying that you're upstanding.
I'm
Like you're
joking,
you're
babe.
okay. I was
I'm
like, you're a
joking.
guy who
Jeez.
supports women, and I've always seen you be like this, where you're not somebody who just thinks this. You're not dismissive of other people. Period. And you're not dismissive of other people's concerns, problems, or issues. You're always the person who is willing to listen.
This is not one I understood. And in listening to Robes day after day, hearing about Lindsay Clancy, and hearing day after day, for years, she wasn't listened to, she wasn't believed, she was prescribed this thing that she shouldn't have, she was given a doctor who's only been out of college for 2 weeks, she talked to somebody else for 20 minutes, the other person wouldn't meet face to face. Robes.
When she went to the doctor or when she went to the hospital and admitted herself, apparently there was maybe just one doctor on staff who saw her minutes a day. She wasn't getting the care she needed.
That thing, Robes, there's a woman banging on a door saying, please let me in, I need help.
Begging for help.
Begging.
That's
And
what her
now
mother-in-law said.
3 kids are dead. And I know, baby, I know it's hard. How could you possibly want to help this woman? How could you? Well, you can when you sit and you pay attention and you just listen before you pop off a tweet. It does. It makes it. I am blown away by this. So now, Robes, with all of that, and we've been covering Lindsay Clancy, I heard this Hayden Panettiere thing, and I said, you've got to be kidding me, Neutrogena.
I know.
That was the thing? It is. We're so afraid of that, being attached to that. A company that is all about what? Women, yes?
But she just talked about women who have thoughts of harming their children. We're out.
And they bounced on her. So this statement they put out, I cannot believe that a company this big, been around this long, has been this successful, did not have more people in the room saying, I don't know about that last
We've seen
sentence.
this so many times, personally in our career and just in general. But people, when anyone, a human being, a company, whoever, when you make a decision and you release a statement or you say something out of fear or out of covering your own ass, it's almost never going to be the right statement. Almost never. And you need multiple eyes. You need a moment to actually take a beat and say, is this the right tone? Are these the right words? And what are we actually trying to accomplish here?
How many people saw this, baby, ahead of time?
Not enough.
I cannot think that if you got 10 people in a room, you wouldn't have at least 3 objections. I would be screaming, guys, we can't do this one. It's on y'all, but I'm telling you what's about to happen. You can't put this statement out. You cannot.
And this was put together, as of this recording, not even a full 24 hours ago. This is what Neutrogena put out online. For more than a decade, Hayden was a valued member of our Neutrogena community. We are proud to have partnered with her and understand that we made her feel unsupported during a very difficult time. This is not what Neutrogena stands for or who we want to be. Hayden's courage in sharing her challenges helped inspire important conversations and awareness. We are making a significant investment to a long-standing community health partner to help give more women access to the support they need, including care for postpartum depression.
You read this to me later. It keeps getting worse. Like, I thought they got some stuff right. It sounds worse every time you read it. All right, let's take it from the top. Say that first line to me again, baby.
For more than a decade, Hayden was a valued member of our Neutrogena community.
You're begging for criticism. She was of such value until she wasn't. And she wasn't after she became a mother who had problems.
So she wasn't valued.
Okay.
She was a commodity, and that was part of her problem for her entire life. That's all she was to people.
So here's the thing. We understand this is a business.
We do.
Don't do that. Don't gaslight me with this message. Like, you made the decision you made. It was a business decision. I don't have to like it, but okay, I respect it. Hard to respect the statement.
Next line's even tougher. This
Okay.
to me is the worst line of them all from start to finish.
Okay.
We are proud to have partnered with her.
Uh-oh.
No, you weren't. You cut ties with her. So that's disingenuous.
We were proud to a point until she started what?
Telling
Struggling?
the truth and being
Man, that's
vulnerable.
tough. And again, we don't want to be too hard on Neutrogena, but this statement is, Robes, fueling a lot of the conversations that are happening. And it also, Robes, fueled a lot of problems that women had for years. Here we go.
Still
Another
have.
example. Another example. Hayden Panettiere, an award-winning actress who
Beloved
has been
actress.
wowing us. We fired her.
She talked about how moms might want to harm their kids if they're feeling depressed.
How many moms right now have that in the break room? I can't tell my coworker. I can't tell my boss. I can't tell my direct report because they're going to hear it and think what of me? Robes.
Babe,
Hayden Panettiere knew she spoke and got fired. So what hope does that have?
so don't say we are proud to have
Don't do
partnered
that.
with her.
Don't.
Okay, that was the first part of that
Don't do that.
sentence, but it continues on.
The I'm
and
sorry.
understand
Uh-huh.
we made her feel unsupported during a very difficult time.
We understand we made her feel unsupported. That's being a little too cute. Neutrogena, that was being cute. I get it. And again, I'm trying not to dump on these people. And a lot of them that made that decision might not be around today anyway. Whatever. But Robes, when you say that, you're not apologizing for what you did. You're apologizing that something you did might have made someone not feel good. That's not the same as apologizing. Say it again. It's too cute, baby.
We understand that we made her feel unsupported.
We understand we made her feel unsupported. No. We are sorry for what we did.
We apologize for not supporting her at a time when
That's
she
the
may
line.
have needed us most.
That's the line, Neutrogena. That's the one.
And I feel my shoulders relax because when people acknowledge what they did was wrong versus how someone felt, there is a huge difference. When I say, babe, I'm sorry I made you feel sad, versus I'm sorry my actions were wrong.
Yeah, that's not an apology from them, baby. And this is 101. We talk about this all the time. If you want to learn how to apologize, don't do that. Apologize for what you did. Don't apologize that what you did might have made somebody. Well, I'm sorry you feel that way. Oh, I'm sorry what I said made you feel bad. Because you're still standing by what you did. You just hate that the result was you feeling that way. No, you did something.
And then I think it's even worse, frankly. And again, I agree. We're not trying to pile on, but this is just a 101 on how not to put out a statement when you're trying to not do harm and then you end up causing more harm. Hayden's courage in sharing her challenges helped inspire important conversations and awareness. You silenced her in a way. You told her that when you speak about this, you will lose endorsements, you will lose money, you will financially pay, your career will be sidelined when you are courageous and share your story. You showed her the exact opposite by your actions.
Say the line again for me, baby.
Hayden's courage in sharing her challenges helped inspire important conversations and awareness.
Her courage inspired them to fire her. Like, we were prompted to get rid of her because of what she was going through. Her courage. Bro, this is a women's brand. And you were so unsupportive of a woman in her time of most need, and she's dead now. Yeah, no one is suggesting. Well, I'm not at all, Robes. That's a stretch of a thing to do. But Hayden Panettiere spoke about this herself. Robes, as that being another moment, one of the significant moments,
She
just
did.
down, dark moments of her life, and she had aplenty.
Yeah, and it's interesting, even the parallels. I know that Lindsay Clancy was the extreme version, and as she pointed out, Hayden did, that there is a broad spectrum. That when she's talking about this to Kelly and Michael, she's talking about this broad spectrum from feeling depressed and numb all the way to the extreme of wanting to harm your children, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a scary thing for women to think about. But they all describe this numbness, this not feeling the way they're supposed to. I know, and I have had conversations with other moms, especially after I first gave birth, this feeling like you're supposed to act a certain way and feel a certain way, and it's very overwhelming at a time when you already feel overwhelmed with a newborn, that you're not feeling the way you're supposed to, that you feel numb, that you feel exhausted, that you don't necessarily feel joy and happiness like we all are led to believe we're supposed to feel, and you feel isolated, you feel alone. And that's why talking about this and letting other women know that there is a community and that there is help, and if they need guidance, there is a community out there who knows what it's like, and that is so important with any disease, with any disorder, but especially when you have moms who are afraid to talk about it because they're afraid of being judged, and in some extreme cases, even being fired.
Right, you said, I guess this is an extreme case of Lindsay Clancy. But Rose, how extreme? I mean, how often are women hearing, well, she talked about thoughts. But do people have thoughts and just don't act on them? Right? How often? Ropes, that question needs to be asked. And I need a very smart person with a doctor's coat on explaining that to me. And other people and women need to hear that. Ropes, she said there's a spectrum. I didn't know that. I am not exactly clear on a woman feeling depressed, feeling sad, feeling down, feeling not connected to her kids, to having a thought of possibly harming that kid. How far from that before you get to psychosis in this other case we're talking about? Rose, that's significant because a woman is going to freak out if she has that thought. I'm not supposed to be thinking this. What's wrong with me?
Look, and I'm going to just say this from personal experience. You add some of that numbness and that depression that I think a lot of women experience, and upon reflection, I think I had a little bit of it. Now you add sleepless nights. And Lindsay Clancy specifically is, like, with all the drugs she was on, a lot of the side effects is sleeplessness. And so now you add 48 hours of not sleeping. You know what it's like. Anything that might trigger you slightly suddenly can trigger you massively. If you add sleeplessness to all of that, now you add a screaming baby who won't take a bottle. I'm telling you, so many women, like, I could get emotional thinking about the level of frustration you feel, and then the guilt and shame you feel about being frustrated at this helpless newborn who won't stop crying, who won't take a bottle, who you can't get to sleep right, who you can't help when they're in pain. Those feelings of worthlessness and helplessness can overwhelm any mother. Now you add a psychological condition to it, and drugs in whatever form or fashion she was taking them, which complicate things further, on top of sleeplessness. Like, I can even see how something like that could happen.
Where should a woman get support for that, Robes? Apparently with other women, and maybe even a big brand that's focused on women. This is a bad look.
It was a missed opportunity at best.
It was. We go back to 2015. We go back 10 years, Robes. What was... I don't know. Has the conversation changed much about women and postpartum?
I think about Hayden Panettiere, and I think about her as being one of the few people who I think have actually stood up, or at least one of the first public, beloved actresses who has spoken up about this issue. No one wants the shame of that attached to them, period. It's just not something that women want other women to think of them as having experienced, because it makes you look like a bad mom, period. And that is exactly what happened to Hayden.
And isn't it fair to say, aren't a lot of women accused of being bad moms before they're even moms? Because if a woman expresses that maybe she doesn't want to have kids, she doesn't have a maternal instinct, that she doesn't want that thing, she gets judged too before you even have a baby. you're judged as a bad mom.
It's absolutely true. Jennifer Aniston has talked about this ad nauseum and how awful it's been for her, because I believe she actually had trouble conceiving and couldn't have kids, and yet everyone was looking to her like, look at her, how selfish she is. She doesn't want kids. What woman wants to completely just dismiss that part of our human experience as women? Yes, we're awful to one another, whether we have kids, don't have kids, how we parent kids, how we feel about our kids, how we react to different situations. It's awful.
We asked the question at the top of the episode, let's ask at the bottom, Robes, is it okay? I mean, how do we go about, Robes, supporting someone who killed 3 kids? Is it okay to do so? Is it okay to do so publicly? Is it okay to do so vigorously, Robes? Or are we missing something here, in that she is a monster? Is it a matter of just what you believe, Robes? Or should this be a matter of the evidence in front of you? Not just a matter of evidence in court in this case, Robes, but the piles and piles of evidence we see in just these 2 cases, Lindsay Clancy and Hayden Panettiere. It's telling us so much about, one, just how much we don't know, how scary this is, how dangerous it can be, how deadly it can be, and frankly, we're seeing why it continues to be all that. Because we can't be open in this conversation, because even a beloved Hayden Panettiere, a company dedicated to women, still didn't want shit to do with her as soon as she mentioned that. What do you want to do? What do we do, baby?
We talk about it and we do better, because I have to tell you, I'm actually even surprised at how emotional I feel about not just Hayden, but about Lindsay Clancy. And you and I have covered and have followed and have watched more murder trials than most.
Of course.
We get it. We've seen evil. We've seen horrible people. And this case to me has done nothing but broken my heart for the entire family, but also for Lindsay Clancy. I feel nothing but sympathy for that woman. I do. I really do. And on its face, you read it, yes, I understand the anger, the initial just disgust that a human being would be capable of doing this to another human being, let alone their own children. But when you actually listen to the evidence and listen to the testimony, and then I do bring in my own experiences as a mom and experiences I've heard from other women, and I don't know how you can't feel something for that woman other than hatred. I don't know how you can't feel sympathy for her. I don't know.
Is this one or the other? Is it really you either absolutely hate this woman and think she should fry, or you have sympathy and want her to get the help she needs and to not be sitting in prison the rest of her life?
I do think it's one or the other. I do think this is a polarizing case, but I just find it so ironic, coincidental. I don't know, maybe the universe is trying to tell us something, but I am somebody who does believe that most things, I mean, I understand there is happenstance and sometimes shit just happens, but to have these 2 massive stories collide at the exact same time in the news cycle, to me, is pointing to a spotlight on an issue that deserves to be studied more, understood more, given more funding and research towards, and a wake-up call to all of us to listen to women, to be curious, and not to be so quick to judge. That wasn't my experience. How could any mother actually feel that? No, this is a moment. I just feel like this is on a loudspeaker now for all of us to pay attention to have both of these stories completely different, but both ending in death and both requiring examination.
Maybe folks will, Robes, examine this a little differently. Maybe more women will come out and tell their stories, and they have platforms now online to do so. But it should, and grace is the thing I would throw in there in the conversation. Even if you don't believe Lindsay Clancy at all, even if you don't know much about postpartum depression or psychosis, just a little grace in all of this. Neutrogena, and a lot of people online, just a little grace in how we talk about this. It's a real thing. But there are people in Robes, as you were passionately explaining how you feel about this Lindsay Clancy thing. I'm sure there's somebody who was watching you and thought, "You idiot! She's a monster.
You naive.
How could you dare?" But that's it. I mean,
there are podcasts that are saying that exact thing. I mean, not about what our opinion is,
Yeah.
but they have taken on a very hard stance, very opposite of how we feel.
But what's the next thing after you say she's a monster? I know that because she killed her 3 kids. Do you have anything else to say? Like, do you have anything else to say to suggest that all of this other evidence you all are seeing, and for 2 years she's going to get help, this was part of a plan of hers, and that she did try to kill herself, and that was a real plan to kill herself, but there's also a real plan to kill her kid? Like, I haven't heard in those arguments how people kind of refute what the medical experts are saying. They're just saying she killed her 3 kids. There's nothing else to talk about. The only person who would do that is a monster who deserves to be in jail the rest of their lives.
Yes, and I do think that there are a lot of people in the world who prefer everything to be black and white, good and bad, right and wrong, and there's nothing in between.
Yeah.
And they're not here to listen to the whys or the hows. But I think listening to the whys and the hows are how we prevent and how we help and how we avoid more of this going forward. And I just feel like now is the moment, with at least both of these stories intersecting. This is a moment for all of us to actually learn more and do better. And look, I know Neutrogena at the end of their statement said that they
Oh my God, you didn't
are
even
going
read the
to
last
make a
part.
significant investment to a long-standing community health partner to give more women access to the support they need, including care for postpartum depression. Look, we do
Yeah.
need that,
Yeah.
and there needs to be significant funding, and there needs to be more of an emphasis put on this particular disorder. But that was really tough to read it in that way because it was ambiguous. It didn't get specific. And it was kind of like patting themselves on the back without any real information about what it was that they were doing.
It was 11 years late, first. And this was hastily put together. We're going to give an unknown...
Substantial amount.
An unknown amount to an unknown group. That's what they just said. To make them... Bro, that was... I cannot believe somebody wasn't in that room. Again, it's hard, and we never want to criticize and take people to task for things. We could just do it based on what's in front of us in Robes. We've seen a lot of statements and a lot of apologies, and a lot of companies do this. This was thrown together. Do they even have any idea themselves what amount it would be and where they're going to do it?
No.
They might. It comes off like that.
It comes off as panic-stricken.
And we're trying to cover our ass. It's still not sincere. It doesn't come off like you actually do care about Hayden or this conversation.
Let me
It's how
write
it
this check.
And are we good now, guys? How are sales on the eye cream? That seems it. And again, I know, bro. I know they got good people working there, but this was a damning statement that they put out.
It certainly was. And look, I can only hope that what we're seeing in that Massachusetts courtroom and what we're seeing playing out online in terms of the conversations about postpartum depression, that maybe we can start to reevaluate. And it starts with each person, but also there needs to be a groundswell of support for other women. And I do think seeing that show of pink, that wave of pink outside of that courtroom spoke volumes, even though it was a silent rally. They got their point across.
All right, folks, let us, as always, know what you think. And please be kind, but just be respectful in the conversations as we have this. Again, Rose, you said, the way you said it, it was an interesting way to put it. Like, we have these 2 high-profile cases that both ended in death, having to do with postpartum. And if that doesn't make you pay attention and be curious, I don't know what will. So please, folks, we want to know what you have to think as well. So we'll look for your comments at the bottom. But we are out of network, and that's what allowed me and Robes to have this type of conversation with you all today. So appreciate you as always. Talk to you soon.